Good evening, everyone. To everyone in our audience and everyone who's watching from home or wherever you may be, welcome to our Penn Hills Council meeting, May 24th, 2021. Thank you so much for attending this meeting this evening. At this time, I'm going to ask our solicitor to read a message from our mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The mayor had contacted me a little bit earlier and asked that I provide a statement on her behalf. She's unable to be at the council meeting tonight because one of her children is graduating. She did indicate to me that she was disappointed in not being able to be here. She knows there's a lot of issues to be addressed and indicated that if council desired to postpone the meeting to another night, that she'd be willing to reschedule it as a special meeting as quickly as possible if anybody wanted to make a motion to that effect. But she cannot be here because of her daughter's graduation.
Okay, with no motion being made, we are going to move along. At this time, I'm going to ask if our business manager, Scott Andre Jack, would please have the floor.
Thank you. I have to announce that the mayor and council met in executive session on May 20th to discuss personnel matters pursuant to the Sunshine Act. The deputy mayor has also asked me to move item 6F to the front of the agenda as well. So 6F will be considered first on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, business manager. At this time, can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Calabrese, Councilman Petrucci,
Present.
Councilman Getzey,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Present.
Councilman Pecora.
Present.
Moving to item number 3, may I have an approval for the minutes of the March 15th, 2021 meeting?
Deputy Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 15, 2021 meeting.
Thank you, Councilman. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman. Roll call.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
May I have a motion for the ratifications of the expenditures?
I'll make a motion for the ratification of the expenditures, Deputy Mayor.
May I have a second?
Approval of,
Oh, sorry, Councilman.
that's all right. You want me to read the rest of it? I'll read the rest of it for you.
Yes,
Approval
sir.
of warrants, 00 CD request 1 at $1,144,000, or I'm sorry, $1,144. Checks 49,259 to 49,488, $1,928,233.58. Grand total $1,929,377.58.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Any questions from council? Thank you. At this time, next on the agenda, we have a public roll call.
On item 4A, expenses, Councilman Getzey.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I missed your question.
We are considering item 4A to approve the expenses. So, yes?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci.
Yes.
Item 4 approved.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have public comment from Tony Muscatello. Tony Muscatello. Mr. Muscatello, are you online? Okay, well, Mr. Muscatello is not on the line this evening with us. However, I am going to ask if Mr. Rick Ministerman, our Gateway Engineer Department, would please take this time to make public comment with regards to this matter. Mr. Ministerman? Can you hear me, Rick?
Yes, I can. It just took me.
No.
Rick, we can't hear you now. I don't know if you muted yourself or not.
How about now?
Yep.
Yes,
good.
we can hear you.
Okay, I was clicking it too many times. Okay, thank you, Madam Vice President. As you know, we received a letter.
Yeah, good.
You muted yourself again, I believe.
I don't hear anything, Deputy Mayor Sapp, do you?
He's not speaking momentarily. Hang on.
Okay.
You're good, Rick.
Can you hear me now? How about now?
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you now.
Jesse, for some reason, this keeps muting me when I'm talking. So we'll see if it works this time.
No,
He's muted again.
We can't hear you again.
I think someone else is coming.
I don't think so.
Right?
Who wants to
Hear their
control it?
stuff and then-
He's muting himself.
His machine's muted.
We're just going to give Mr. Ministerman a couple minutes to get himself together. This is a very important statement I'd like him to address.
Rick, you could dial in also.
You know what, I'm gonna try to get Mr. Metzer on the phone, maybe.
Technology is great when it works, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
Take your time, take a minute.
I'm asking him if he just wants to call me.
No, you could hear someone else's paper shuffling and then you couldn't hear him, so I just wondered if something else was taking over.
We're going to try calling.
Hey, do you want to just, I can put it on speaker and I'll carry it through that way. There's something's up. Okay, well, I have you on the line now. If you want me to put speaker.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, is it okay?
Okay, he will be joining us by way of telephone.
Hey, say something, Rick.
All right, can you guys hear me now? Any better?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can hear you.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on. It's so disappointing. You sit here all this time, get it set up, and it doesn't work.
It's okay. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I'm still trying to log in here while I'm talking. So I wanted to go over the letter that was received by council May 18th from Osiris Enterprises, which is Mr. Muscatello. And there were 3 points that he made, and I wanted to address them so that they didn't go unaddressed, obviously. So first is he was talking about change order number 2, and there was a change order. I'm hearing.
Just move your computer away from the phone.
I think you have to just use one or the other.
Mm-hmm. Just use the phone.
Okay. How's that?
That's great.
Exit the meeting. Or mute yourself.
It's not responding. Okay.
Seems like it's working.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Quite embarrassing. So referring to the May 18th letter from Osiris, his first item is called change order number 2. He states that the change order was a result of adding additional cost to an add alternate bid number 6 from the 2020 point repair contract. That is
typically issued every year to Penn, through Penn Hills to take care of their defective sewer lines. So his claim is that change order number 2 increases the alternate bid number 6 called North Joslyn Road by $45,000. Now the bid item for that, it was a lump sum bid for North Joslyn Road, and it was for $42,000, which was in the original bid, and that bid was honored. And Mr. Muscatello's claim was that we paid an additional $45,000 for a $42,000 bid item. So that is absolutely not true. And his misunderstanding is, and I see it, in change order number 2, we did increase the contract amount. So the total contract amount by $45,000. This was as a result of stormwater repairs that were made as part of the contract. So there were, I think you had 3 storm sewers collapse last year. And this $45,000 was to put the money back into the contract that was spent as a result of one of the stormwater repairs. So the change order references North Joslyn. It references that specific repair because that was the only repair that was left to do. So the idea was we had to increase the contract total by $45,000 because that money was spent on fixing an urgent stormwater repair. And then once we got that money back in the contract, we were able to finish the original contract, which was North Joslyn. That was the last repair to be made. So, so there wasn't a change order to add cost to that project. It was bid and paid as the $42,000 lump sum that it was, and there was no additional money paid toward that that cost. I will note too that I went over these items with Mr. Muscatello at the 2021 point repair pre-bid meeting, and we had a discussion, and I went over these, and maybe after he went back and reviewed, maybe that's why he changed his mind in talking tonight. I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying maybe he realized that it was just more of a misunderstanding. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Once again, to make it clear, we didn't pay $1 over the bid amount for North Joslyn, and that the change order, and there were 2 change orders on this contract. One was for $75,000 and one was for $45,000. And both of those were as a result of additional stormwater repairs that were made because of urgent situations where the storm sewers had collapsed. And we were able to utilize this repair contract because whether it's a storm line or a sewer line, very similar work. And we were able to take advantage of that, get excellent pricing to fix emergency situations. So that should resolve item number 1. Item number 2 of Mr. Muscatello's letter was related to crew time. And he points out that the original estimated amount for crew time was $1,600. It was about 4 hours. Now, what crew time is, it's an hourly rate that we specify a very specific crew. So we say a certain size excavator, a triaxle truck, a driver, an operator, a foreman, and 2 laborers, for example. And we give that specific crew size so that the contractor can tell us what does that cost per hour. And the reason we might use crew time is when we don't have the items, the unit items. Let's say, for example, one of the stormwater repairs was a 72-inch diameter pipe that had to be reinstalled. We don't have a diameter that size in our contract. So whenever we have work that needs to be done that we don't have a line item for, crew time is to be used. So we negotiate a price with the contractor and we use the crew time item to pay that. So it's basically paid on an agreed to, not to exceed hourly rate based on what's in the contract. So we bid that crew time specifically for that reason. And I disclose that when we have our pre-bid meetings, like I did this year, and I pulled the minutes from the pre-bid meeting last year, and I said those very things. I can read it to you. It says crew time paid out as an hourly item when we encounter work that is not covered under the current bid items. Crew time is based on specific labor and equipment requirements, and a fraction of an hour may be paid if the total labor and equipment is less than the item description. So basically it's just saying that item covers work that we encounter that is not covered by our existing unit price item. So in any event, his claim is that we used many more hours than 4 hours. In fact, the $1,600 that we estimated, and once again, we just put 4 hours in so we could get that hourly rate. We actually paid out $36,000 on that line item. Now, once again, the items that are installed in a contract, the quantities are estimated. And some quantities go up, some quantities go down. And that's a give and take that's allowed. What we can't do is exceed the total dollar amount of the contract. So if it's a $400,000 contract, we can't go over $400,000. But if we've got 30 different bid items, some go up, some go down, as long as it doesn't exceed 400,000. So that's the situation we had here. I just described that we had several repair contracts, storm sewer repair contracts, and a lot of that labor, that work was used by paying the crew time item to get that work accomplished. And lastly, he makes a claim that there was not a public bid opening, and that's required, he says, by the Home Rule Charter as well as state law. And whether his references are correct, I don't know, but I know that we are obligated to have a public bid opening. Penn Hills handles those bid openings themselves. Sometimes the engineer does in other communities, but you guys handle that on your own. And I reached out to, at the time, Jen Cohen wasn't here, and Allie Rand was not in the purchasing. So it went back to Stephanie and spoke to her, and she reported that there was a public bid opening despite COVID at its peak. The office was closed. Most employees were home. So what happened in that scenario was Scott Shepard and Ray Rawl came into the office. There were 2 other bid openings that day. One was for Lincoln Road and one was for the paving program. And what they did was they sat inside the building and allowed the contractors to congregate outside in the lobby across from the windows. So they had the public bid openings, read the bids. There were contractors there, several contractors. For some reason, Mr. Muscatello didn't come. Maybe he didn't know that there was a public bid opening because the office was closed, but there certainly was one. It's documented. And so that should take care of the third item on his letter. So I hope that clears it up. I don't know if it makes sense. I hope it made sense to Mr. Muscatello, but I hope it makes sense to council as well.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ministerman, for that detailed explanation. And I want to thank the audience for being patient and listening. I always say, it's your money. You ought to know where and how and understand how it's being spent. So thank you very much for your patience. We certainly wouldn't want a rumor to go out such as that. So thank you again, Rick, for that explanation. All right, moving right along. We are going to move on to our resolutions, and I'm going to go and ask for a motion to approve 6A, approving the management service agreement with Penn Hills Library. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it's a 6F actually, Deputy Mayor, approve management service agreement with Penn Hills Library. I'll make a motion to do it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion's been made and approved. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from council? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
No.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey.
Yes.
Item 6A approved. 3-1.
Okay, next we are going to move to item 6A. Do I have a motion for a resolution to approve resolution number 2021-24?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-24, a resolution of the municipality of Penn Hills authorizing an agreement with Brandon Muscatello for a structure being constructed within the municipality's sanitary sewer easement at 6623 Salzburg Road.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Any questions from council? Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey.
Yes.
Item 6A approved.
Moving to 6B, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-25?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution 2021-25, a resolution of the municipality of Penn Hills approving a community development block grant program action plan for FY 2021 and the home program.
Second.
It's been made, moved, and second. Any questions from the audience? Questions from council? Roll call.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes.
Item 6B approved.
Moving to 6C, do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-26?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution 2021-26, a resolution of the municipality of Penn Hills approving intergovernment cooperation between the municipality of Penn Hills and the township of Wilkins for paving sharing on Ridgecrest Drive.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Please state your name and your address for the record.
Greg Swatchik, 648 Gramick Lane. Mayor, in keeping with your cost conscientious objectives, I just have a quick question on the cost components of this project. Basically, the easiest way to describe it is the Penn Hills Wilkins boundary dispute was settled under GD 95661. And if you view the plan from Logie Road, it's basically an ellipse. It was all considered to be in Penn Hills at one time. The result of the Boundary Commission basically placed the municipal boundary line that was ascertained and established by a court-appointed commission to sort of bisect the ellipse along its major axis. If you're viewing it from Logie, the left side is now Wilkins. The right side is Penn Hills. It does make sense to cooperate and divide the costs, and as a guesstimate would have it, it's about 50-50 when you split the ellipse for paving. Now, what I noticed since I drive there to and from my home, there was trenching done on the left side, the Wilkins side, basically following the curb along all of the homes. I lost track of it as it approached the far side of the ellipse. There is a concrete monument put in at 74 Ridgecrest in his front yard. So I guess my concern was, and it may be covered, but just for clarity, whether or not the cost component for that trenching and whatever they did, which they would do first before the final paving, whether that continued all the way around the right side, then it would be a 50-50 split with no concern. But back when we were litigating this, there was complaints of sewage, smell, and all that primarily on the left side. So it could be a remedy to that, in which case it would isolate that cost component to Wilkins Township And if it's deemed to be, just so we don't miss it, is if it's deemed to be insignificant relative to the whole project, I can see waiving, that adjustment. But if that cost component is relevant, and of course, powers that be get to decide that, I just want to make sure it's not missed.
Right, absolutely. Thank you.
And that's
very
all
much.
I have.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I could just speak to the project for a moment. Obviously, about 55% of Ridgecrest is in Wilkins. Some of it is in Penn Hills. So they're going out for their paving this year, and they want to do that road. So they approached us about whether we wanted to reimburse them for our part of it, which is about 45%. So they had asked for an intergovernmental cooperation agreement, which is what this resolution is. So basically, under this agreement, under this resolution, it's going to give permission for Penn Hills to reimburse them for our share of that project, which is about 44% of the milling and paving, and some other things that are in the resolution. So it's just a way to make sure that the folks that live in the Penn Hills area, that they're not shorted and we don't end up with a half of a road paved. So that's what this item is.
Does that help you, Mr. Gregg, that we have to know those percentages?
Yeah, I appreciate that. When you're referring it to, it's milling and paving. And I already stated that I think that is real close to 50-50, and I get that. What I'm trying to make sure that we address specifically is the trenching that's done prior to the paving. I talked to the guys, and they said, oh yeah, we're doing this before we do the complete paved job. So if that's a cost component that we're sharing with them.
When you say trenching, could you be a little more specific?
It's with heavy equipment, trenching Ridgecrest all along the curbs in front of all the houses. There's 52 homes on Ridgecrest. They did up maybe to 25 homes on the left side. If they stop there, that cost should be borne by them and the rest divided. But if they come and wrap all the way around, I don't know the purpose and scope of that trenching. But back in the day, that's where a sewer smell gas was coming through from the pumping station at the bottom. So they could be fixing that. That cost should be borne just by Wilkins, and we can divide all the rest for the paving, of course. And if they go all the way around, then it's split again. So I lost track of it when they were approaching like the curve part up at the top to come back down. I think maybe they'll stop there. I don't know that.
Are you saying there's 52 homes on the left side? Which
No,
is Wilkins?
total, in the ellipse.
In total?
Yeah.
Do you know more specifically how many of those homes are on the left side?
About half.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when the boundary dispute was resolved, Wilkins Township got, Penn Hills lost 25 of those homes, but we picked up about the same on Elwood Drive, which is Little Dog Lake Street in Eastmont. Because the line wasn't straight, there was a jagger to cover Elwood.
Okay.
And that's how somebody back in the day said, hey, you take Elwood, we'll split Ridgecrest, call it even. That's how it got all screwed up.
Okay. All right. Well, point taken. Thank you so much.
So I just want to make sure that the cost component for the trenching at the curb, if it just involves the Wilkins side, they pay for that. If it continues the trenching on the Penn Hill side as well, then of course that becomes 50-50 included with the milling and paving.
Right. Totally understand.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from council? All right. Roll call.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes, with you looking into what Mr. Gregg has stated.
Councilman Pecora.
Yes.
6C approved.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 2021-27?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-27, designating Huntington Bank as a depository for the municipality of Penn Hills.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Any questions from council? I have a question. I made aware that we have the representative from Huntington Bank here in our audience tonight. Since we are giving you all of our money to look over, we would like to meet you. So if you would please come to the podium and introduce yourself and explain what you're going to do with our money.
Thank you, Ms. Sapp.
Yes, you're welcome.
My name is Joe Miller, Senior Vice President at Huntington Bank. I work specifically out of the government banking group at Huntington. I've been in banking for over 25 years, and I've been involved in municipal banking, public finance, for about the last 20 of those years. With regard to what we would do to work with municipality of Penn Hills, I had the opportunity to speak with and review the banking accounts as well as the services that include the fee structure and interest rate structure, as well as the service related component that the municipality currently has in place with its existing bank. And upon that review and upon that discussion, it was determined that we would be able to put the municipality in a much more favorable position from a banking perspective, covering all of those aspects of banking. Much lower fees, a much more attractive interest rate, and a service component that comes along with it as well. So I position myself as the direct contact for the municipality. This takes the guesswork out of who you would ever have to contact for any particular banking related matters. And I would work very closely, in fact, position myself once again as the point person with the transition from the existing banking institution to Huntington Bank. So although I have the resources of a large regional bank behind me to deliver to a customer like the municipality of Penn Hills, perhaps, I also deliver those resources in a very personalized way.
How many branches does Huntington have?
Well, just in Pennsylvania, we operate about 50 full-service branch offices, and we have a regional headquarters located in downtown Pittsburgh on Grant Street in the Grant Building. In fact, our logo as well as our name is at the top of that building because we occupy the most square footage in that building with our regional headquarters.
Okay, any questions from council? Okay, well, thank you so much. It's very nice to meet you. We're trusting you with our money, so we expect you to do a good job.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you as well, and I will meet those expectations.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And if I could just make a comment too, to follow up with what Mr. Miller had to say. I would really like to point out the work and effort that our finance director put into trying to get the best deal that we can for Penn Hills. And as you may know, switching a bank account or checking account at home is kind of a pain in the neck. So when you're talking about multiple accounts for municipality of Penn Hills, there's a little bit of a transitional challenge there, but I think we're going to be well served with Huntington. But under this transition, we're going to save about $20,000 a year in fees. So I think that's something that we should be happy about.
$20,000 in fees. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that'll make us happy.
While we're making comments also, I'd just like to say we have all worked with Joe in his previous bank and on various loans and things that we've done, municipal vehicles and things like that. So we are familiar with Joe.
Okay, so you're stating we have a history with him.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. That makes me feel a lot better. Okay. All right. Next on the roll call.
On item 6D, Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora.
Yes.
6D approved.
Okay. Next on the agenda, do I have a motion for approval of change order number 2 for the 2020 Plum Creek Equalization Controls Upgrade Project in the amount of $6,890. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, can I get a,
Go ahead, approve the change order of order 2 for the 2020 Plum Creek Equalization Controls Upgrade Project, amount of $6,890.
can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Any questions from council? Okay, well, I'm going to ask if, is Jen here tonight or
She
on
is
the
on the
line?
call, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, all right, Jen?
Yes.
Good evening, how are you?
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Can you please just give us some further insight on 6E, please, with the approval of this change order number 2?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Let me bring it up here. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Item number 1, Elcon Technologies. They've been great with assisting us with the SCADA project. Their request for this is to provide the additional option for the ultrasonic level sensor in lieu of the specified hydrostatic sensor. This ultrasonic level sensor will give us a better diagnostics as well as the ability to interface with it. Overall, we'll get better measurements, and this would not be able to be achieved with the hydrostatic sensor. This ultrasonic level sensor is a non-contact unit, so it'll last longer and it will not be exposed to the wastewater elements, which is a good thing. Item number 2, they're going to furnish a 4G radio. It's for temporary internet access for use with our SCADA system, which is the supervisory control and data acquisition system at the Plum Creek Sewage Treatment Plant. I've been working with Jesse on this. He's been great, by the way. And he's been working nonstop with Comcast, trying to get them to install internet connection down to our Plum Creek plant. Unfortunately, it's kind of been in limbo at the moment on Comcast side. So whenever we get Comcast service available, we'll be able to save some money going with Comcast by not using this 4G radio. But we will be able to use this 4G radio at another location where we don't have Comcast service.
Okay. When you talked about the life of that piece of equipment, you said it'll last longer. What's the life of it? Do you know?
Which we talking about the
ultrasonic.
We have them here at the other plants. They've lasted longer, which is why we wanted to go with them versus the hydrostatic sensor, because the hydrostatic sensor would be in contact with wastewater, which can be corrosive. So the reason for going with this option is to prolong the life of it so we won't have to replace it as often.
Okay. How often were you replacing it or needing to replace it?
At the moment, we don't have many hydrostatic sensors that I know of. Rick, can you comment on that? As far as I know, we only have the ultrasonic sensors at our other plants. So
He may or may not be able to contact. He's having technical difficulties this evening.
the main thing was we wanted to prolong the life of this, being we're spending a lot of money on this project. Wanted to do it right the first time.
Okay, I can get that information from Rick. Can you just tell me then why is it so difficult for Comcast to set the appointment? What's the problem with that?
Jesse, are you on this call?
He's changing hats right now.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, the problem that we're having with Comcast is that they are not able to get access to the poles up there because it is a long line that they have to put in. As soon as they have the permits for the poles, it should be full steam ahead. But they've just been stalled out from that because they just can't get access to the poles.
And what's preventing them from getting the access to the poles?
they have to get permits for, through, I do believe, Duquesne Light or whomever owns the poles up there. Otherwise, they would run into legal problems for all that.
So if we sent a letter, would that help? Or if our business manager made a phone call, does that help?
It might,
Okay.
it might not. I have no idea, but
Okay.
but it's worth a shot.
Okay, all right. Scott, could you please make note of that? Okay, thank you, Jesse, and thank you, Jen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions from council? Roll call.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp,
Yes.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci.
Yes.
6E approved.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, under ordinances, ordinance A. Do I have a motion to approve ordinance of the municipality of Penn Hills authorizing the sale of real property on Springwood Drive known as parcel 534N205 and authorizing the municipal manager to sign documents for the conveyance?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Any questions from council? Roll call.
Councilman Pecora,
Yes.
Councilman Petrucci,
Yes.
Councilman Getzey,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Sapp.
Yes.
7A approved.
Okay, moving to item number 8. Do we have any items for consideration this evening?
I do.
Councilman Getzey?
My item for consideration is the stimulus grant. I've been through it several times. To me, it's a very complicated thing. It deals with issues that we are not normally dealing with. And in that regard, I think it's important for us to understand it. And I think it's important for council, the manager, to get together with Chris and other members of the municipal guidance committees to study this thing and to get to understand it and decide what kind of program we're going to have. At this point, I'm not sure if we just get the money, how it comes in. I'm just not sure about how it's handled. And I think the issues that are involved are not issues that we're normally dealing with. So to that end, I'd like to suggest that we have informational meetings about this grant at least once a month to follow the progress of it and to understand what it is. I'd also like to recommend to the citizens that we form a citizens committee that would maybe represent the community and come up with suggestions for use of this grant, because a lot of these issues that are involved are issues that I think could be best raised by the community as instead of us sitting up here and trying to determine the needs. So with that, that's my comments, and I'd like to ask council if they would approve such a message to have these informational meetings outside of council meetings and outside of our regular meetings.
Councilman Getzey, I think that that is very well stated, and it is important for us to have an informational meeting with regards to this. But I think first that our business manager and our finance director, they need to really understand, they say free money, but no money is really free money. So it comes with stipulations, and what we thought we can use this money for, now we find that we can't use the money for. So I think that once they get a grip on this, then I think that they are going to then inform us, and we can come together and look at this. And, we have all of this money and trying to find places to spend it. So I think you have a great idea. And Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Just to follow up, obviously, we were awarded $18 million under the American Rescue Plan. We had a meeting here, and then a few months ago, or a month or two ago, we spoke a little more about it and took some input from the public. What's been promulgated up to this point is what are called interim final rules. So the Treasury hasn't developed finalized rules, okay, on the money. What they've given us are interim final rules, that those rules that we saw, that we've all looked at, that they do carry a little more strings attached to the money than maybe we had expected it to, or maybe what we originally thought. there's a lot that can be done with the funding. I think it's probably very safe to say that the way that money comes to the municipality is that whatever we spend it on has to be COVID related. And as you all know, we're in a different phase of the pandemic here today than we were 6 months ago or 7 months ago. And certainly even 3 months ago when this was finding its way into these federal bills. So we do have some existing plans. We have a capital improvement plan. And so once we get the finalized rules, the finance director and myself and our staff is going to present to council a plan for how this money will get programmed into what's left of 2021 and potentially into 2022. Obviously, it's going to get programmed into 22 as well, and probably 23 and maybe even 24. There's a lot of ideas that have been discussed that I've had discussions with members of council and with staff. So, and there's a lot that we can do with the money. It's just that there are certain things that it's disallowing, but those things may change. So we have to wait until we get the finalized rules, and then that's going to really give us a little bit more guidance on what we can do. I tend to think that there might be some changes to the money and the rules, I think. But again, we just have to wait for the Treasury to do that. I don't know whether we've got our first tranche of money yet. We're going to get our first tranche of money. About half of the stimulus will come this year. And then at this same time next year, the second 9 million will come. So I definitely agree that there's a lot that can be done with the money. I think the key for Penn Hills is for the mayor and the council and the staff to work together with the public to hear what the public's concerns are and to program this money in a way that really benefits Penn Hills and really benefits our bottom line too. Because as you know, we've had many discussions about our general fund and some challenges that we have there, and all that is going to manifest again when we do our 22 budget. So our staff is trying to do as much as we can to really help Penn Hills and to make sure that that money finds its way to projects that are going to be very meaningful. So be patient. That's what I could tell you. And we are hoping that we see a little bit more flexibility in terms of what we're able to do with the money. But we're allowed to do a lot with it now. It's just the challenge is that it has to all be COVID related, and that's becoming tougher and tougher to do as things become to normalize, if you will.
So, may I ask a further question on that? Is that money going to come down to us in a lump sum and just be deposited with our accounts?
No, because we're a direct entitlement community, Councilman Getzi, we should really any day. I think it's in May, we are going to get half of it. So half of it will come to Penn Hills through an ACH transfer. And then at this time next year, the other half will come. Some communities are getting all of it just at once, but because of the way we're an entitlement community direct to HUD, they treat us a little differently, so we get half now and half a year from now. We haven't gotten the first batch yet, so it's coming soon though.
So that 9 million will come in.
That'll come this year, and it'll come soon.
All right. I have another question.
Yeah.
Was the library MOU issue to be raised tonight?
We did it and voted on it already, Councilman.
I couldn't.
That was the first line item. You voted yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, we cleared that already. Okay, so, yep, so that's all good. Councilman, thank you for your input. It's like we used to say, we got this money and it's burning a hole in our pocket, but we want to spend it wisely.
I'm going to say my mask down. Madam Mayor, Jerry Chipinelli, 921 Cimarron Drive. I totally agree with Councilman Getzi's idea that there should be, in fact, I recommended it to the mayor, and I think I mentioned it to you, that there should be a citizens council, bipartisan, to get the ideas of what the people want to do with that money. Mr. Andrew Jack could come up with the fine tuning on the laws and regulations, but a bipartisan council of regular people listening to the people to see what they want. And maybe then it might fit in some of the rules and regulations that follow. I don't think there's COVID-related situations pretty much cover everything. Our parks have been destroyed. Everything has been falling apart. But we want to hear I suggest that we listen to people. Councilman Getzi had a great idea, and I agree with him 100%. that the people should talk, not a finance director. He can talk, not a department head. He has ideas, but the people of Penn Hills who have been struggling. We've been like in jail for a year. And now we have a chance to talk. And it's the money that's coming from the government of the new government of the United States. And I understand that the congressman is going to be at the school board this week at 6 o'clock about the money they're getting. They get their own money. Penn Hills gets our money, and school district gets their own money. But Councilman Getzey, I totally agree with everything you said, that the people should have an input on a bipartisan commission. Mayor and council can figure it out, but I volunteer my services and several of my other friends on both sides of the aisle to hear what the people want, not always what councilmen want or district department heads, because we the people have to live with this money, and it comes from a bipartisan project. And listen to the people. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You were just about to get told that you have 10 seconds left, but don't come back to use them. No one else, please don't follow Mr. Chipinelli. Thank you for your input, but it is items for consideration.
Mr. Chipinelli,
From
I'd like to
council.
thank you also.
Wait, excuse me. So I just want to say thank you so much, Mr. Chipinelli, for your input, and you're absolutely right. It is all of our money. We all live here, but keep in mind, we have to come up with creative ways to do that because we have 42,000 residents here, 18,000 homes. So everybody can't speak. I mean, everybody will have an opinion on how we spend this money. So we will creatively come up with ways where our residents can have input, absolutely, because it's all of our money. But then our spokespersons will be our department heads. So it will come from our finance director and our business manager. But I live here too, so I definitely want my input as well.
May I respond to Mr. Chipinelli? This is not going to be a partisanship issue because it's an issue that's going to affect everybody equally. So there will be no partisanship because it's going to be a neutral issue in terms of the benefits of the people.
Okay. All right. Any other items for consideration?
I have one more question.
Okay, Councilman.
Was the McKinley issue supposed to be on the agenda for this evening?
It is not on the agenda.
No.
Is there any reason why?
At the last meeting, there was, at the suggestion of, I believe, a few councilmen, I know Councilman before suggested it, we reissue the RFP. So that's been given to our IT director a little earlier today. So the RFP has been reissued and that now appears on our website. If it's not, is it, I'm getting a yes that it's there. So we did reissue the RFP a little earlier today. So that's online to read.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do I have any reports from council? No reports from council. Well, I'd just like to say then to everyone, thank you so much for coming out to our meeting tonight, whether you were in tuned at home or in person. It is very good to be here. I haven't sat in this seat in 15 months, and so I'm excited to see all your faces and to be here this evening. Go out, stay safe, enjoy your week. The weather's going to be good for the rest of the week, and thank you so much for coming. This meeting is now adjourned.
Sir.